welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com, and I hope it finds you well out there wherever you may be listening. Terrestrial radio on your laptops, all of you podcasters and people that listen in the middle of the night. Thank you so much for doing so, and thank you for the business. And speaking of business, it's on again, another down day in Wall Street. We'll talk. We got to talk about it, right? We got to talk about Ukraine, what's going to happen there. Crude oil prices continuing to churn higher. Gold and silver prices continuing to churn higher. As again, there are not a lot of great solutions out there, but it's something where when we look at any little thing is going to make it that much more difficult when we talk about inflation and all these things. Obviously, the Russia-Ukraine thing, probably more than a little thing, but just throw that on top of it. I'm joined like I always am every day with my partner, the man with the plan up in the mothership in Colorado. Jason, good morning. How are you? I heard it's a little cold up there.
Yeah, it was in the negative temperatures. I know it's around zero. I think it's at zero right now. And I was up a little late last night, Joe, and I think the plunge protection team must have come out because I just checked numbers at one point. I think the Dow futures was down like over 500 points, and gold was up $10 or $15, and suddenly everything kind of calmed down and kind of come back. So somebody was up late last night doing some work, I think.
Yeah, that was late last night, early this morning. Well, the Dow's now down 300, so it's going back the other way. At one point, gold got up to about 1915, then went all the way down to 1890. Now it's back to above 1900 here, and I get it, right? Everybody's trying to find a reason. Wall Street has been suffering, and maybe what Putin did yesterday, maybe that's not so bad. He recognized the two breakaway regions, that the Donbass region. It looks like you're going to put, as he called it, peacekeeping troops in the region. And again, this could change at any moment, at any minute, if the Russian military starts engaging. The funny thing is this would be the Russians would be able to take Kiev faster than the Taliban was able to get rid of as soon as the U.S. troops left. Well, how long did it take the Taliban? A week? Right. Before they got to Kabul. I think the Russians could probably do it in 2 days, Jason.
Exactly, and it's funny because it's funny to watch somebody else do it. The United States goes to some country, and it's a peacekeeping mission, and we got thousands of troops there. Now you get to watch the Russians. They're on a peacekeeping mission. They got tens of thousands of troops in the local area. It's always funny when it's a peacekeeping mission and there's that many soldiers with guns.
Speaking of, it's 2:22 today. And if you use your car's navigation, you may have had an issue this morning as AT&T shut down its 3G network. And apparently, Jason, a lot of cars, including cars that were made in 2020, 2021, and even some of the 2022 cars, I guess apparently your navigation won't work anymore.
I've heard people's security systems just stopped working today. So there's a whole lot of the 3G shut down, and not all the big companies have done it. They were all set to do it today. A couple of the companies now, they in the past few months, they pushed it back a few months because they saw what was coming, which is it's going to create a little chaos for some people's personal lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, it didn't in the article. It didn't say like there was anything you could do.
Nope.
Right? Could you go to the dealership and they fix it? No, apparently not. So how about this though? This one's starting to get a little crazy with inflation. Jose Cuervo says that get ready. Yeah, the price of tequila. I guess it's going to be going up along with everything else out there. They're saying that The price increase for tequila somewhere between 5 and 10%. So if you're a Jose Cuervo drinker, get out there, get you that tequila as price increases are headed your way. And of course, how about this? The Perth mint. So this is the Australian mint. Second highest silver sales ever out of the Perth mint in January. You know, obviously in our mint, we completely sold out. We had minted over 5 million ounces of silver. The Perth mint in Australia, think about Australia, such a much smaller country. 2.387 million ounces of silver. By the way, that is 105% more than January of last year. The only month that was better, September of 2015. And you know what? I don't remember anything unusual about September of 2015, but the second highest silver sales ever for the Perth mint, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, this, you know, we've seen it the last couple of years, Joe. The availability of silver and the premiums above spot has just been ridiculous. So it's just not in the place where it should be. And you know, I saw this British economics mass media show. I was just watching him. You know what he actually said? He said, "Oh, that inflation in America, it's not really that big of a deal." Can you believe that? Europe thinks our inflation is no big deal, Joe.
Yeah, well, maybe based on their inflation, it's not. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Nickel hitting a new multi-decade high, $24,610 per metric ton. By the way, nickel prices up 18% just this year. Gold prices hit a record high in Japan on fears of stagflation in that country. I think for an ounce of gold, it's like 232,000 yen or something like that. It's a lot of yen. Smashburger, their CEO said inflation is eating them up and saying that sooner or later the customer there's going to get to the point where the customers will no longer pay. Saying that they've been continuing to have to raise prices, and now my guess is starting to see a slowdown in sales. And again, this is the big thing. I think this is something Jason and I have been saying. The middle class is going to get a big haircut in all of this. And I think we're going to see a lot of where a lot of the hiring was, bars and restaurants, because that's really where the hiring's been for a couple of decades. It's going to be really interesting, Jason, as this inflation continues to churn, and they've got to raise prices. They got to increase pay. They can't stay open because they don't have enough employees, so they got to have less hours. How long this whole thing's going to be, how long they're going to be able to hold it together.
Right, Joe. I mean, I've seen stories about an epidemic of people going to restaurants and charging up $100, $150 worth of food and walking out. It's becoming common for restaurants to lose tons of money because people just can't afford stuff. So it's like, well, here's one way we can we can save some money. We can head for the doors before paying. All these little symptoms of how bad it's getting are bubbling up, Joe.
Yeah, and then the mortgage industry. I just saw a big headline. Massive layoffs coming to the mortgage industry because, well, let's face it, with interest rates now going in the wrong direction, the refi market has come to an end, and buying a house, that's just getting harder and harder to do. So we'll see how it goes. There's these troubling signs already. Goldman Sachs came out yesterday and kind of reiterated, this economy, after you get off that top layer, maybe not as strong as we thought it was. We'll wait and see. But I want to talk about Canada again. And the reason why, and just, obviously gold's a hedge. We hedge it against the dollar. We know what the Fed is doing, right? And what inflation really is just the printing of money, right? The printing of money with no offset, no productivity offset in return. And it's a devaluation of the dollar. And really, I think the dollar is setting up for a nightmare. Because I think the Fed is going to start raising rates, and the dollar will get a little stronger theoretically because of that. But I don't think we get out of 2022 without them going back if not already going back the other way, talking we're going to stop raising rates and we're going to get ready to go back to zero. And then I think this thing really unwinds. But now there's another reason that you need to have gold and silver put away. And it really has a lot to do with what we've been seeing in Australia and Canada, even here at home. But the Canadian MP says the bank account of a single mother who has a minimum wage job has been frozen because she donated $50 to the Freedom Convoy. You know, Jason and I talked about this yesterday, right? This is absolutely the new playbook, and when we go to digital money, it's going to be even easier, right? Because now there's no way out, right? If you have cash at home, hey, I can survive, maybe you can survive a month or two. But with a digital currency, you wouldn't be able to survive a few days. Conservative lawmakers say the mom, named only as Brianne, had her life ruined for donating the small sum to the anti-vaccine mandates protest. He shared her story as growing concerns of scores of ordinary people will no longer be able to pay for food and the basic necessities after their accounts had been frozen for donating to a group of protesters. And right now, the last number I saw is there's been hundreds of Canadians now, Jason, who have had their accounts frozen.
It makes you wonder what might happen with the American trucker, the People's Convoy that's getting ready to start. It makes you wonder what's going to happen with that, Joe, because they have this thing. There's a bunch of these things, but the American Truckers Freedom Fund. How many people are going to donate to this thing? Because I guess their destination is supposed to be sometime after March 1st. They're not going to make it for the State of the Union address. But what happens if something weird happens, something blows up, something goes wrong, and suddenly they're like, well, you donated to the American Truckers Freedom Fund. I'm not saying don't donate to that cause. I'm just saying what is your potential danger to doing that, Joe?
And again, what really stuck out to me, $50. Right? This person didn't donate $1 million or some huge, crazy, significant. It was $50. You know what? We're going to lock your account over $50. This is the creepy, scary part. Canadian trucker Derek Brower said that his truck has been seized and that his personal and business bank accounts have been frozen since Friday due to his involvement with the protest. They've taken my truck. I don't know where it is. And on Friday, they locked up my personal and my trucking business accounts. He added they also locked accounts for another business that he owns that has nothing to do with the protest. Again, they're going to lock it all. And not to be outdone, the Ottawa mayor has come out and said that he wants all the seized trucks to be put up and sold at auction, and the money given obviously to the general fund there in Ottawa. But Jason, this is tyranny every way you slice it. I mean, it's one thing to take the trucks, right? See, tow them, send them to the impound yard, make them pay a fee for the tow and the impound and whatnot. No, this is a whole different level. And let's face it, these trucks aren't cheap.
Right, Joe. And, these protests are not really that big of a deal. It's just the news has decided to run with it. And let's just look at the economic goals of maybe the higher-ups. The guys that are in these protests aren't the Walmart trucker. My brother's one of those Walmart truckers. He can't take the time off and take the Walmart truck and go join this thing. So you're seeing a lot of independent truckers and people that have a little more control over their business. And when these guys lose their assets and lose their money and lose the ability to do their work, it's going to make, once again, another attack on small business. Joe, I really think this is another huge attack on small business because they don't want small business to exist because independent truckers, independent small businesses, these are the ones that are actually standing in the way of all the craziness of COVID and everything else, masks and vaccines and all this stuff. By smashing these truckers, Joe, they're smashing small business even further. Because, like I said, my brother would join, but he works for Walmart. He can't take that time off.
And I think you're right. I think the vast majority are just like you said, these independent truckers, right? They probably own their own truck. They can operate on their own schedule and do those things. Now, I mean, think about this. Just like that, in a blink of an eye, they just cut you off. We confiscated your property, and we closed or locked or froze, whatever word you'd like, every one of your accounts. I mean, it's mind-blowing, but this is what's coming. And again, I think, Jason and I were kind of talking about this pendulum. We're kind of in this pendulum where I think this is what's going to happen. Eventually, I'm hopeful years from now, the pendulum will swing back. But right now, I think this is exactly where we're seeing this play out in Australia, Canada, places. All right, this isn't Greece. This isn't Cyprus. And this is what's going to be happening here. Part of the reason when I keep telling everybody, do not have a ton of extra money in your bank account, especially if you're of the angst of, hey, you know what, I want to help people fight for freedom, right? I want to resist tyranny. Those are the accounts you want. I actually had somebody send me a picture of an ATM machine in Canada. And before you could withdraw your money, you had to answer a question. And the question had to do with your political association. Are you a conservative? Are you a liberal? Are you a libertarian? And then none of the above, right? But it's really weird things happening, Jason.
Absolutely, and I saw something similar to that, so I can't verify the story you're looking at. I saw Babylon B actually covering that. They may have taken that a little further. I didn't see the actual story you saw, but regardless, Babylon B, we read that stuff on Friday, and that always ends up being true 10 days later, a month later, and you better believe that there's tracking on everything that you're doing. There's pictures of you everywhere.
They already know. Believe me, the bank doesn't even need to ask that question. They already know.
Yep.
Right, they already know, and I just find it amazing now. All those seized trucks, campers, vans, cars. Apparently, the Ottawa mayor is going to put them all up for auction, and just think about the price that these people are paying just to try to protect freedoms in their country, and this is just seemingly happening everywhere in the world right now when you start looking at, whether it's COVID-19 and all these draconian restrictions. And we do a show, The Half Empty Cup. Matter of fact, the show after this one, Jason and I, we're going to have Steve Starr, Sonia Miller, who's normally on Thursday, going to be here today. And this is stuff, the government has planned this stuff out for years. And believe it or not, it was out there. If you actually had gone out to the CDC's website 5 years ago, you would have seen almost all of the playbook that Fauci and them ran. Right down to, the speeding up the vaccines. They're talking about forcing people to stay in their homes, possibly having concentration camps or FEMA camps. All of this stuff has been part of the plan for a long time. This isn't. I don't want people to think that they're making this up on the fly, Jason. This has been planned out for a while. Right,
Joe. And a lot of things that we don't talk about or that we haven't theorized are they going to be things that we're going to see new coming. So we had mentioned a couple days ago that the FEMA camps might actually be your own home, especially if we get to digital currency. You get to digital currency, they can just jail you in your own place of residence. We've all seen those guys that got convicted of whatever small misdemeanor or small felony, and they get the ankle monitor, and they're at home for 6 months with that thing around their ankle, Joe. Well, they won't need ankle monitors anymore. They'll say, hey, here's your phone. You stay home, you have no money, your money's been shut off, and you have to stay there for 6 months. So, yeah, FEMA camps, Joe, it just might be different than we visualize it.
We'll be right back after the break. 800-951-0592. Gold's up 5.1903. Silver's up almost 30 cents here, 24.27. As the Russian parliament has now passed legislation recognizing the independence that we talked about yesterday. We just heard that President Putin has now asked the Russian parliament for approval to use military force. Which it's being reported has passed unanimously. So a couple of, paperwork, dotting I's and crossing T's being done. The Russian parliament recognizing the new independence, and then at the same time approving the right for Russian troops to use force. Not that again. Putin's in charge. If he says we're using force, they're all going to use force. President Biden now says he's going to address the nation at 2 p.m. Eastern time about the Ukraine. And I'll just say this. So far, we haven't really seen any sanctions. We've heard of sanctions. The Germans have said, hey, that second gas pipeline that is ready to start pumping gas into Europe, but that's on hold now. We're not approving that. That's actually bad for us. This is again another dumb thing. This is just going to make energy cost so much more expensive for all of the world. But outside of that, we haven't actually heard of sanctions yet, actual sanctions. If they sanction, and let's face it, Russia is a huge, huge producer of energy. They're also a major producer of wheat and things of that nature. If Biden is coming out today to announce sanctions today, I think that things get worse. The sell-off on Wall Street gets worse. I think the gold rally and the oil rally rallies even higher if that happens, Jason.
Do you think he'll actually do it then?
I don't know. Again, everyone knows my opinions about Joe Biden. This is worse than Jimmy Carter. This is maybe the worst time to have a president this weak. And I think Vladimir Putin has played him like a fiddle. I think Joe Biden's backed into a corner right now because he's got two options. Hey, I'm not going to meet, right? I'm done talking, right? Which then just sends, hey, you know what? I don't want to deal with this, and Putin invades. Or he says, hey, I want to extend an olive branch, and then Vladimir Putin invades anyway. Right? It really makes him look weak. I don't know that there's a good way out for Biden.
No, I think he's just waiting for Putin to do something overly aggressive so he can try to play the hero, and then of course things get crazy. But he doesn't really have any good plays. The whole thing is ridiculous. Nobody should really be worried about what that part of the world is doing, except for those people in that part of the world. But it's all over the news, Joe. It's in our face. There's all these other things that could be going on. China and Taiwan, and there's always India and Pakistan.
Major
all this
cover-up.
stuff.
Listen, this is simple to me. The Fed knows they can't raise rates. They know. And they know that they can only stop quantitative easing for so long. Right? Listen, we've been down this road before. Listen, we were down this road when things were a whole lot better. And it didn't work. Right? We couldn't even get to 2% before the whole thing crashed and burned. Right, we were supposed to sell off $1.5 trillion in treasuries. What did they end up selling off? 400 billion before it all fell apart. And I think this is going to be one of those things where this breakout here, the Fed may stop quantitative easing. We may get that first rate hike in March. And then everything could be put on hold because of what happens with Russia and Ukraine, and talking about oil at $150 and paying $5 for a gallon of gas, and the Fed saying, "Man, we gotta wait and see how this plays out."
Right, Joe. And I mentioned Turkey again yesterday. One thing I didn't get to mention about Turkey yesterday, I really think that's sort of a game, sort of a small game plan. I think they're watching because. The Prime Minister of Turkey, what he's doing as 50% inflation is hitting that country. He's having the citizens turn stuff in like foreign currencies, and now their gold last week. Joe, what the Prime Minister in Turkey is doing during 50% inflation, he's lowering the interest rates, and I think the world is watching. The Fed is watching to see what actually happens there. I mean, it's a completely backwards play, and of course, then he went to London to go get help. Say, hey, give me some money. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of little things out there, if you look at it, that I think they're watching to see what's going to happen. Just like the truckers in Canada, what's going to happen there, and then if there's truckers in America, how do you handle it, right?
Right, exactly right. I've got a great opportunity today. Got a wholesaler. We've been around. Page's been around a long time. We got a lot of great connections. The guy is eager to get a relationship with us. I've got 100 $10 liberties. Well, not $10 liberties are $1,110, but I've got 100 of them at $1,085, and if you buy 10 or more, I'll take them down to $1,080. So when you look at this at $1,085, you're only looking at $2,170. And of course, if you buy 10 or more at take it down to $1,080. I mean, you're only looking at $2,160. That is just a great value. But again, I don't have 101. I don't have 110. I've got 100 of them, and 100 of them only. And gold's on the move here again. So now gold's up 7 here, 1905. Silver here hitting 24.30. So some good news on the silver front. I still want to see silver close above 25. If we get silver to close above $25, then I can say, you know what, silver's breaking out with gold now. Gold's already broken out. Gold's not going back to 1800. It's not going back to 1770. Gold's broken out. I think the next stop for gold is probably 1950, and then we'll start looking for 2000, and then eventually, Jason, all-time highs.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think if once gold pushes past 1920, I think it really goes. So I think if there's any resistance above right now, it might be that 1920. But after that, all-time highs, Joe, easily.
Funny you said that. The April contract, 1920 is what it hit before it sold off a little bit today. Patriot Radio News Hour. Get those 10s and do it now. We'll be back right after the break. Hey, I got good news. We got 2 lines still open. $10 liberties. Listen, jump on this one. This is the deals you guys are waiting for every day. We never know. Some deals are better than others. This one is a really good one. We got $10 Liberties. They're $1,085. If you buy 10 or more, down to $1,080 at 800-951-0592. And I think Jason's nailed it here. 1920 is resistance. If it breaks 1920, right then again 1950, which that's just a 50. That's not true resistance. We probably won't see real resistance until $2,000. And again, this shouldn't surprise anybody. Okay, listen, and I know did it get a little boost from the Russia thing? Yes, but gold was rallying already. Remember at the beginning of the year, and I do it every year, and I tell you, hey, what's going to go on? This is what I think. And remember, last year, gold had a down year. It's only the third time in 21 years. But after every down year, not only does gold have a better year the next year, it usually is a significantly better year. And I think this is exactly what we're going to see. Silver, especially, should have a much better year because silver was down a lot more than gold last year, Jason.
That's exactly right, Joe. And just from what you look at, just with historical, just looking at it, and any situation you're involved in currently is always somewhat different than historically. But you look at history as sort of a measuring stick as to what's going to happen. And Joe, it seems to me gold at 2,500, it would be like a low number to end the year. By the end of this year, gold will be at all-time highs. There's just too much push in that direction for it not to go there. I don't see how it can be pushed down any more than it's been since 2011. There's been all this downward pressure, and it's just been coming up the last few years, and there's really nowhere down for it to go. So 2,500 at the end of the year would be, to me, it would be the low number, and above that can be anywhere.
Yeah, when you bring up a really interesting point, I've seen some guys now throwing out 2,700.
Yeah, that's that number.
As a number, right? I don't know. I'll say this. I'm talking just demand. Demand is off the charts. And it's not just here. Demand is off the charts everywhere. Listen, when I first got here, and this is the great thing, I've been here long enough now to say, hey, remember the last time demand was like this? And demand was everywhere? It was right after it was the housing crash / financial crisis. And gold added $1,000, in a matter of a couple of years. It was, for a couple of years in a row, gold was up $500 a year. And I actually think this time, because of how much money's out there, remember, the only thing that was down in the gold and silver market was paper gold. They call it backwardization of the markets.
Yep.
Remember, I think it was last week when I told you that if you physically wanted a barrel of crude oil, it was over $100, even though the paper crude price at that time was like $92. It was over $100. Copper. Well, if you wanted a ton of copper and you actually physically wanted the copper, you got to pay $9, right? Not $4.50, which is the paper price. And we've got the same thing in the gold and silver markets. And again, here's the thing. When they finally give up, when they finally realize they've been beaten, just a fraction of that money goes into the paper gold and the paper silver because they printed so much of it. You're going to see huge days where you see, are we going to see gold go up $100 in a day? Are we going to see silver go up $2 or $3 in a day? Jason, I absolutely think we will.
Right, and we're seeing something. I mean, that when I say the lowest, the low price is 2,500. I can see at the end of the year. One of the reasons is if inflation keeps doing what I think it's going to do, which is just get really, really bad. If gold decides at any moment to just start reacting more heavily towards inflation, it could just go to highs we wouldn't even dream of in 1 year. And on top of that, let's see. On top of that. If other currencies are being inflated out of oblivion, the dollar might actually show strength. And we're seeing sometimes, some days, Joe, where the dollar and gold is going up together because, let's face it, there's two things that you want right now that might be the best to hold on to. Having cash outside the system and gold seems like a safe place. So you may see dollar getting stronger versus other currencies while everybody's getting inflated out of oblivion. And you see gold going up even when dollars are going up, Joe.
Yeah, and actually, you bring up such a great point. The dollar's actually rallied this year.
Yep.
I mean, gold's up almost $100 in the first 7 weeks of the year, and I think that's going to be a continuation because it's really rallying on weakness more than it is strength. And again, it's because the Fed's behind. I think everybody knows. Hey, it's not like the Fed can just raise 2 or 3 times and fix this. But let me give you another example. Home prices. They had declined a little bit, over the, and I mean a little bit. Case Shiller just came out and said, you know what, home prices flying back up again. Tampa, Phoenix, Miami leading the way, but they're saying homes are up 20%. And again, it just doesn't seem like this inflation thing is going away anytime soon. And this is why everybody's flooding into the gold markets. Everyone's flooding into silver markets all over the globe. $10 Liberties, 800-951-0592. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour here. Joe and Jason, $10 Liberties. I'm not sure exactly how many are left. It's been really busy in here, but there are 1,085, 10 or more, 1,080. I don't have more. I'm not going to be able to replace these. Some days I can do that. Today is just not one of those days. So if you want to get in at a really, really low price, really this is gold $20, $30 ago at least. Take the time, put them away. 800-951-0592. We talked about home prices. The AP reporting rents are going insane. Talking about now Boston has overtaken San Francisco as the second most expensive rent in the country. If you're looking to rent places for under $2,000 in Miami, you better be prepared to deal with a lot of shortcomings, like, things that most people don't want. Almost no kitchen at all, cracked tiles, warped cabinets, no dishwasher, right? No storage space. Right? Hey, I'm going to give you a closet for $2,000. And again, the bigger thing here is the AP says there's no let up here. And of course, when you think about who owns a lot of these apartment complexes, who owns a lot of these rental houses, BlackRock, I mean, what did they buy? Another 12,000 more homes? I mean, Jason, I think the cost of shelter is absolutely going to drive a lot of people into homelessness, without a doubt. AP now saying that rents are exploding even faster. The 50 largest U.S. metro areas, rents are up 20%, but they're saying that this year already that they're seeing huge increases in rents, where people that were paying $1,500 a month need to pay $2,000. People that were paying $2,000 got to pay $2,700. You're paying $2,700. You got to pay $4,000. And again, I think, you know what? You throw on the cost of gas. You throw on how much the utilities are going to be. Jason, I don't see any way that a lot of people don't get forced out onto the streets. And again, this is what needs to happen for this inflation to stop. They got to break this thing.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. Exactly, and at some point in the future, we're going to see more and more people suffer from the decisions that these people have made, and you're right, Joe. People have a lower standard of living as this thing continues. I mean, that's what inflation does. It just destroys people's ability to go up the American dream, basically, right, Joe? You can't build it up.
It's the cruelest tax of them all. It really, truly is, because you're fighting it. You can't do anything about it, right? I mean, I guess. I'm going to have to move. Okay, to where? Right, to where? You're already paying really low. There's no lower place to go. This is how I see all of this playing out. By the way, gold's starting to stretch it out here. The Dow's down 325.